So laying the first colors down and went with the Model Master steel on all the landing gear and the inside of the landing gear doors and the inside of the landing gear bays. And on these doors, the ejection pin marks were still showing, so I filled those in again with the Testors putty this time. Also did these two front headlights with the silver. I masked those windows and put on the canopies and the front windshield. Next, I'm going to work on these engines or exhausts, and I've got a reference here. Unfortunately, if you can see in there, this one has these, mold deformities or whatever. And I'm hesitant to even try to fix that because I think I'll just make it worse. I think I'm going to leave it. Again, this kit has a lot of issues. And it's only on this one. The other one seems to be okay. I just did the panel line wash on the landing gear and the landing gear doors. Have all this painted now. So that's kind of what I came up with on the inside there. And then inside here, I went with the various panel line washes and just streaked that. So that's the light gray, the brown, the black, and the dark gray. And then here, dry brush that, and then came back with the black panel line wash in those recesses. When this is on here, there's those openings there, so I'll have to mask those from the inside and then paint the entire outside. I used the Mr. Surfacer 1200 and kind of shot everywhere where there was some seams just to make sure I had those seams okay, and then came back with putty, filled in any minute holes. Actually did a lot of fill in here with the Testors putty to get that contoured, but I'm happy with the rest of this. Refilled in there and then touched around the canopies. Same thing on the bottom here. I'm pretty happy with these seams now, and then you can see I've masked for those camera windows as well as the wheel wells. So once this one right here fully dries and I can resand that, then I'll be ready for the black Mr. Surfacer 1500. And then I still have to put these rear stabilizers on, but I'm gonna wait until I at least get those first two pieces in there. Because when I was test fitting, it was kind of tough to get these in there with those stabilizers because they hang over. But yeah, I see one of those is a little lower. That's the other knock on this kit, is these three don't line up. So you kind of have to sand them a little bit on the bottom to get all three to sit flat. Here's everything primed. That took a long time to do that all with the airbrush. And I had to, do one side and then the other. So what I did is I ran out to the hobby shop / hardware store and I bought the spray can, and I think I'm going to do that with the rattle can just because it'll be easier to rather than, airbrush really slowly. All right, so I've got this semi-gloss black that I'm going to hit that with, and we'll see how it comes out. All right, there's side one. Yeah, I think that's pretty good coverage. Did the doors, did those cones, and did those rear stabilizers. And there's the other side. So it's Saturday night. I will let that dry overnight. So it's the next morning. This is completely dry, and man, that to me is spray paint. It's something else. This is so smooth and clean and nice. But I noticed, and I don't know why I didn't notice this when I primed it, but if you can see there on that seam, there's an indentation. So I am going to fix that. But other than that, I'm really happy with this. So. All right, I have all the parts done and painted, and all that's left is to put everything together. I think that seam up front is a lot better now. And one more thing while I'm at it, for you older modelers, I got some new glasses. I went to the eye doctor, and it just so happened it was the week after the Butch O'Hare contest and show, and she asked me what I had been up to, and I told her. She's like, oh, you build models, so on and so forth. And she said, what kind of glasses do you use? And I told her, I said, as a matter of fact, I use, these are the highest number that I could get in, like, you know, off the shelf in the drugstore. And she said, well, what do you need to do? And I said, well, you know, I needed to be right up close. And so I got a new pair of, you know, to see far, to see close. And then she said, okay, you know, let me see how close you need to be. And I, you know, did this, and she measured, and then she put the cards up and did the flipping of the different lens sizes. And I could read the tiniest print on that thing right in, you know, right in front of me. And she said, okay, so I had these made as well. And they're awesome. And they're obviously better than those. So for those of you who are older like me in your 60s and have trouble seeing up close, next time you go for new glasses, mention that, and they'll fit you for, you know, seeing up close glasses. So I got those. All right, back to the model. So I'm starting on this landing gear. This is all just dry fit. And if you see there, those inner wheels are up off the ground there, so I have to sand down the outer two to get that one to fit. I just think the prong that holds it is up too high. And until you dry fit all this, you kind of don't know how to deal with it. And I'm just going to do a little bit at a time, retest fit, a little bit at a time, retest fit. And you have to do it with this piece dry fit in there as well, because that's supposed to match up, and you know, this can go back and forth. So all right, I think I'm happy on this side, but that side still needs some work. Oh my God, is this a pain in the ass? I think I have to glue it in there and then deal with it that way, because this is, if it's loose, it's no good. So all right, I have the landing gear and doors in. I have to say, this kit is just not engineered well. These actuators or whatever don't line up. Nothing really lines up there. You see how much I had to sand that down, those tires down to get all three to lay flat. Yeah, I will be glad when this kit is over. It's really not very good. And I just put the exhausts on, and as you can see, I painted them exhaust. So okay, those cones are in, and even those were kind of a pain. I think that's how they're supposed to be. They kind of tilt down, but I guess that's the way it's supposed to be. Oh, unbelievable. This thing is just a hellish nightmare. I so just want to be done with this. I don't even know how all this goes together anymore. I've moved these pieces around so much. What a nightmare. All right, that took the better part of an hour, and I still don't even know if it's right. I made copies of this before. That doesn't look right to me. So who the hell knows? But I'm done messing around with it. And I coated these with the liquid decal film, and it didn't really help that much. There's another split somewhere over here. I think I touched it together, but that's easily 10 different pieces. It's insane. All right, I've got all those on, and I've hit it with the salva set, and that's about the best I can do. With all the decals on, now I'm doing the dull coat, and I'll start with the bottom. There's the top, and then the last thing I have to do is paint that pitot tube up front silver, and I'll be done. The Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird was developed from the Central Intelligence Agency funded A-12 single-seat reconnaissance aircraft. Design specifications for the A-12 were set in 1959 as a triple sonic follow-on to the U-2 spy plane. Article, as the A-12 was known by insiders, first flew on 26 April 1962. By late 1964, a number of all-black CIA A-12s were flying operational and clandestine spy missions. The success of the A-12 led to the Strategic Reconnaissance Mission being given to the U.S. Air Force. The A-12 was upgraded to a two-man crew design for the aircraft. On 22 December 1964, The first SR-71 took to the skies from Palmdale, California for testing and further refinement, and by 7 January 1966, the SR-71 joined the operational U.S. Air Force inventory at Beale Air Force Base in California. The SR-71 carried a wide variety of photographic and electronic sensors, widely variable depending on the needs of the particular mission. The aircraft used its high speed and electronic countermeasures to protect itself from hostile action. Over 900 missiles were fired at the SR-71, yet not one was lost to enemy action. The SR-71 was operated by the 9th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing of the U.S. Air Force at Beale Air Force Base, and aerial refueling on an international basis was done by the 100th Air Refueling Wing flying special KC-135Q tankers. The SR-71 was a remarkable machine. It flew at over 85,000 feet at speeds well over 3 times the speed of sound. The temperature on the windshield at cruise speeds was over 600 degrees. The high temperatures generated in flight required special design and operating techniques. Major sections of the skin of the inboard wings were corrugated, not smooth, as smooth skin would have split or curled, whereas the corrugated skin could expand vertically and horizontally and had increased longitudinal strength. Fuselage panels were manufactured to fit only loosely with the aircraft on the ground. Proper alignment was achieved as the airframe heated up, with thermal expansion of several inches. The outer windscreen of the cockpit was made of quartz and was fused ultrasonically to the titanium frame. The Blackbird's tires, manufactured by B.F. Goodrich, contained aluminum and were inflated with nitrogen. In 1989, the U.S. Air Force retired the SR-71, largely for political reasons, although several were briefly reactivated in the 1990s, before their second retirement in 1998, finally fully replaced by reconnaissance satellites and unmanned aerial vehicles. NASA was the final operator of the Blackbird, using it as a research platform, until it was again retired in 1999. In 1974, on 2 separate flights, the SR-71 set the record for the highest sustained flight and also the fastest flight time between London and New York. In 1976, it became the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft in the world. And as of 2024, the Blackbird still holds all 3 of these world records. All right, there it is up on the shelf. Yeah, I had to make room for it. Scrunch everything on that shelf down because that thing is 27 inches long. And you can see it just barely made it onto that shelf. But again, this kit was not easy to work with. It's got a lot of issues. I would suggest if you're going to build it, you go out and get as many aftermarket kits as you can find. I know they make a cockpit, they make the engine inserts, and a couple of decal sets. So, but you know, it was a challenge, and I did the best I could, and I think it came out okay. It's not going to see any contests, that's for sure. But again, it was fun, if not challenging. So I want to thank Markus and Joachim for hosting the Reconnaissance Group Build, and hope you found that interesting. And as always, thanks for watching and happy modeling.